Hi, we're live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Charlotte. I will be your host today, and I'm with the speaker, Mark, for today's topic, which is about team productivity, team performance, and productivity hacks. So before we start the presentation, I would like to go over some housekeeping rules. The number one question people like to ask is, can we get the recording and can we get the slides? The answer to both questions is yes. You can use the same link to access the recording immediately after this webcast, and the slides will be sent out in an email also from Crowdcast soon after the presentation, either tonight or tomorrow morning. And we're also from the Munich Digital Marketing Institute on Meetup, but maybe you found us through LinkedIn or Facebook. And I want to say that we're always looking for speakers, and we are covering topics mainly in digital strategies, digital marketing, but we're also doing productivity or any topics around growth as well. So if you would like to be a speaker, please feel free to reach out and we'll be very happy to have you. And I would like to introduce you to today's speaker, Mark. We actually met from another webcast, and I was just saying we're looking for speakers, and nice of Mark to come along and say, I'll take it. So that's the spirit. And I want to welcome Mark. Thank you for your time today. And I will exit the stage now.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, you wonderful and beautiful human beings. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm really looking forward to delivering this today. And usually my technology works great. I've been delivering over 100 of these webinars and things and didn't have any of the technical issues that I had today. So this tells me that this is something special, because if you run into resistance, you know you're up for something really good. Charlotte, there is a little quick thing. I can't share my screen because I changed the browser, so I sent the link to you. And in fact, let me quickly see if I can share my thing with the general public as soon as. Let me just go ahead and do my slides really quick. Link sharing is on. Anyone with the link can view it.
Okay.
Copy the link.
I'm here, so if you want me to share my screen, I can.
Yes, please go ahead and do so. That would be just awesome if you could. So this is how we roll. Adapt in the moment. All right, so let's get into it. Productivity hacks and team performance boosts. Now, let me ask you guys, are you familiar with Scrum or any agile process? You can just hop in the chats, in the chat, and just go ahead and put it in there. That's the second slide, please. Are you familiar with Scrum? No? Okay. Yes. Okay. Different answers here. No worries if you're not. And some basics is always beautiful. I'm going through those basics with you today. So Charlotte, if you could please click to the next slide, and that's the basics. So that's already the next one as well. Sorry, one further. Getting work done in sprints is what is the basics of Scrum. That's one of those agile methods. You go through your basic things. A sprint is basically a unit of work. So most teams that I know of, they do their sprints in 2-week sessions, kind of like they cut their work into 2 weeks delivery sprints. So they plan, that's the first thing. What should we do? Usually you use a ticket system such as, one of them is Jira. That's like super popular, I believe. And I like it a lot. Others use other methods. It's not really important which tool you use. For me, it's just very important what type of method you use and why you use that method. So you have all of your work that you want to achieve as a team or as an individual, as we get into today, and you want to plan that out. You have your resources, you have like your team members available. You can You have the work that needs to be done. Say that usually comes from a development perspective, like a software development perspective, but it works well in product development. It also works well in producing events and so on and so forth. And I found I can basically apply this to almost anything I do, which is why I thought it would be nice to deliver today's talk. So let's get into, sorry. So you do the sprint planning, you do your actual work, and then you do a retrospective. And it's best to do it immediately after the sprint ended. So before you go into the next planning, before you go into delivering the next work, you do some kind of retrospective, which is looking into how did that last sprint go. Well, I'll get into details really quickly. Charlotte, if you could hit the next slide for me, please. So you do your sprint planning. So you sit down as a team, you talk about what are the things we want to get done. Usually it's called backlog of tickets. So you can get organized, can have all your things you want to do. That can be a basic to-do list. As I said, it can also be like your bunch of tickets. You sit down, discuss and prioritize. So say there is something really breaking, for instance, we want to organize an event, but we're not sure which venue we want to put the event on, or a breaking feature in a software, like something is not working as it should. So that can get prioritized, and you do your own criteria of what you want to prioritize. And there is a methodology that's called like story points. So you have a bunch of tasks. Say you agree that we want to get those 5 major things done in this week. Everyone gets to assign, say, 3 story points. And that could be any preference. It could be, this is a breaking feature. Or it could be, I really like to do this, or I really love to see that feature coming out, or for an event, say you want to organize a gala, and you have different entertainment options, like you have a clown to perform, or you have a big act that everyone knows, and you want to prioritize that. So it comes down to preference, and you can assign your story points. Each one gets 3 story points, and that kind of prioritizes what work gets done. There is also the discussion of how many of those tickets and tasks can be even done in this sprint. So you have your sprint scope. So this is what defines what work is getting done in that time. And you ask yourself, can the work even be done in this time with your estimation session? So you estimate how long will it take to deliver those different tickets? What time do we need to spend to get it done? And also, you ask, can the work be done in one ticket? Because usually you want to break down the work into easily deliverable tasks. And if it's too complex, and if you check the ticket and you see, this looks like the work of actually 3 tickets, or you need to even break it down into, I want Joanne to do this, and I want I want Joe to do this, then you break the tickets into subtasks, kind of. And you, as a team, you define your own rules of what you believe should be in one ticket. Does that make sense so far? Could I get some comments, please, in the chat, if I'm making sense and if it's comprehensible what I'm talking about? Because I have no idea how used and focused you are on those agile things. I see a thumbs up from Nina. I'll just take that as a general, okay, awesome, let's continue. Charlotte, please, the next slide, where we talk about the actual sprint. So what we've seen so far is you've taken the time and organized what you are going to do and what the priority of things is and who is doing what. Now it's time to put actual action, like go ahead and do the actual work that you organized. And that could be anything. Really, I'm just using like an event production as an idea. You secure the venue, you check the budget, you sell the tickets, you do your marketing activity. All those things could be a part of the sprint. And you do the work as individuals, and the method to facilitate kind of an exchange, a rapid exchange, is you do daily stand-ups. So just imagine coming together. It could be whatever, a Zoom call, Google Hangouts, or it could be in person as soon as the whole global pandemic is over again. You just stand up together. Usually you do that to keep it dynamic, and you talk about, this is what I've done, and this is where I need help. Or you throw out an idea or something like, I secured the venue and they said they have 5 rooms available. Can you just quickly help me with input on what room I should choose? Because the options are so many, and I think I could really gain from all of your guys' input. And so this is what a stand-up is. You share knowledge about what you did, where you're struggling, and you also receive input on a creative kind of level, and you kind of, you leverage you leverage everyone's special field of expertise that way. During your actual sprint, people know what they should be doing, because you organize the work. And if you don't, you have your daily stand-up, or you could call for a quick stand-up. Hey guys, I need a quick stand-up. I don't know what to do. Can I take over from someone? Can I help someone? Something like that. But generally, and everyone in the team usually knows what the focus is and what should be done. You also, if there are issues coming up, that's what I just said, is you are discussing them during the sprint. You do not need to wait for the retrospective or the next sprint planning to talk about issues that happen during your sprint. And something that is worth mentioning absolutely is that you want to keep track of the things that are working well. And also, if there are things that could be improved, I think it's really crucial to write those down and keep track of them, to be ready for the retrospective, which is, I believe, the next slide. Can you please switch over to that, Charlotte? This is the retrospective. What's the retrospective? There is a prime directive that I want to talk about. The prime directive is, regardless of what we discover, we understand and truly believe that everyone did the best job they could, given what they knew at the time, their skills and abilities, the resources available, and the situation at hand. And for me, this is such an important point to stress. Read the prime directive, make yourself aware of this prime directive before you start the retrospective. It's so crucial to get your mindset done. Get yourself in the space of, we done our best. We did everything we could. Everyone went 100%. And this just helps to have a collaborative atmosphere and get the focus right. And the focus on the next slide is, the focus of the retrospective is facilitate a continuous improvement process, because this is how improvement usually works. Like if you see the whole sprint and agile methodology, it is basically a process that continually improves. It always gets better and better. If it doesn't, you're doing your retrospective wrong. But that's the big thing of the retrospective, is it facilitates that continuous improvement. And we're looking into those questions that are being asked in the retrospective when we focus on the personal thing, which is coming up in just a moment. And during the retrospective, we also look at the tool set. Like you have your set of tools that you use. For instance, it could be something as simple as a phone. And then you discover I need a specific feature on the phone. I need a specific app on the phone to improve, to save time, or whatever it could be. It could be as basic as tool set. It could also focus on the actual work. For instance, you realize, oh my God, last time I secured the venue before I even knew how many people are signing up. So I had to change the venue because the signups were so many, something like that. So you realize the process changes a bit. That's something that's facilitated in the retrospective. And I also invite you to be open to discussing those things on a weekly basis. Also, the retrospective looks on the resources available. That could be budget, as in monetary resources. It could be human resources, people on the team. Maybe you realize in a retrospective, for the next week's sprint, we actually need someone who's a UI designer, or someone who is a marketing person, or someone who is really good at promoting stuff. That could be you need that resource only for the next week or only for the next sprint. So something that the retrospective could come up with is, we need more resources, or we need less resources. Someone says, I think my work is done here. I need to leave the team. That could be part of the retrospective. Also, what I really highly encourage, which I do not see that much in the culture currently, is also focusing on the well-being of everyone involved. There's a lot of why questions to be asked. Why am I part of this team? What are we trying to achieve? And there needs to be an alignment. There needs to be a goal. And if it doesn't fit, you're not feeling well, I can tell you. The moment you realize, I'm not really a good fit, I don't really want to do those things, that's the root cause for not well-being. So focus on a well-being of everyone involved, and it could be as easy as having water on your table and drinking your daily amount that you should be consuming. I just want to stress that point. It's a source of loss of productivity. And if you put your focus towards, are we actually all doing well as a human, that can improve your team and your individual performance quite a bit. And we're going into that. The retrospective is learning from failures, but it is also learning from successes. So I find that really beautiful. There is a fail fast, learn quick culture. And for me, that is also a lot of what Scrum is about. The retrospective usually turns out with specific actions for improvement. And that's also what the beauty is of why a retrospective makes so much sense. And that's the thing, the actions that are defined as a result of retrospectives are productive. Whereas usually if you put your actions forward without going through the process of planning, doing the work, and then thinking about your work, then it's actionism, and that can be hollow with the results. Whereas if you put actions as a basis of a retrospective, you know that those actions are really meaningful and they are tailored towards improvement. If you have any questions until that point, I highly encourage you to put them in the chat. And I talked to you about the basics of of agile, and specifically Scrum based processes. Now let's switch to the next slide and think about how we can apply Scrum to ourselves. And the focus can be to your personal life. It can also be to your daily work routine. So let's recap. In the next slide, the basic steps of Scrum are planning a sprint, and in your personal work and in your personal life, that means getting organized, sitting down, and it can be from 5 minutes to an hour of getting organized what you want to achieve either on the day, in the week, or the month, whatever your focus is, you decide. That's empowerment. I used to write organizing off as something, as a waste of a time, because it doesn't feel productive to organize, because you sit down and organize and spend a lot of time theorizing, and I was missing the action and getting something done element. But if you actually take the time and organize yourself, how you're going to action, what you're going to action, then that is where the true productivity booster is coming in. I can tell you from my own experience. The next basic step of Scrum that you can apply to your personal life, to your personal work, is to do the actual sprint. And you can say, okay, my sprint is days. I plan my sprint is, this is what I want to get done on this day. And for me, it's it's work hard and it's also play hard. and there is a balance between the two, as we'll see on the next slides. And then that's something new. Reflect, sit down and reflect. And it can be, as I said, it can be a thing of just 5 minutes at the end of the day. Okay. And I'll give you the questions for that, what you can ask yourself to retrospect. Now, let's get to the next slide. Getting organized. It's quite simple. You sit down and ask yourself, what do I need to get done? What do I want to get done? And yeah, exactly. Work smart. That sounds amazing. Carl, thanks for that comment. What you want to get done. And again, the tools you use, which is kind of how you organize yourself, that's not the focus of today's session. And the how is something that really sometimes comes from asking yourself, why am I doing something? And what am I trying to achieve? And then the tools that you use for that come from that. And it can be, as I said, it can be like a ticket system like Jira. It can be your notes app on your phone. It can be a to-do app, one of those many to-dos apps that are out there. And you use them most productively personally if you sit down on a daily basis or whatever basis you use. If you work on month-long, year-long projects, it can be on a weekly basis that you sit down and see, okay, what needs to get done. Same principles apply of prioritization as well. So you know what needs to get done. Now you prioritize. What are the things that need to get done first? What are the blockers? And what are the enablers as well? Maybe I need to get something done to enable something else to get done as a next step. Also, reflect on how much you can actually get done today. One of the big things I see in my own personal life, but also in my one-on-one coaches' lives, is that they have to-do lists that are endless. They feel like endless, like 100 things to do. And sit down and realize how much can you actually get done. For me personally, I have the rule of threes. Exactly, Carl. I have the rule of threes as well. Address 3 topics on a day, and if you sit down at the end of the day and you achieve those 3 topics, believe me, you have achieved more than if you set out to do the impossible, if you ask me, and doing 100 things, achieving 100 topics on one day. For me, that is out of the scope of our human reality on planet Earth in the year 2020. Maybe it changes, but currently, for me, it's 3 topics a day. and for me, this is it's something you can achieve. I'm quite sure about that. Also, and we'll get to the sessions in the next step, can the work actually be done in one session? And that is something that we ask ourselves in the team planning before, in the Scrum process. Can I achieve the work on this one day, in this 1 week that I'm planning? If not, for me, this is time to break down your to-do into subtasks. And that's the thing, if you go on a mountain, achieving the pinnacle of the mountain starts with the first step, and some mountains you just cannot physically climb in one day. It is a multiple day journey. So you put down your tasks for the day, and every task is one step, one step, one step. And then you realize, okay, I will reach base camp at some point, but you've broken down the big task, the big to-do of going to the summit of this big mountain into several achievable steps along the way. Now, on the next slide, let's talk about the actual Scrum sprint. And for me, that's the work hard, play hard. Carl said work smart. I'm happy to adapt and say work smart. This is how I do it personally. I slice my day into 45 minutes focus sessions and then 15 minutes, what do I call it? 15 minutes. Oh, come on. Power breaks. That's what I call them. So I break my hour down into a 45-minute focus session and a 15-minute break. And I like to say, don't quote me on the 45 minutes and the 15 minutes. But the gist is you do your work and then you slow down and take care of yourself. So what do you do during your 45 minutes focus sessions? Well, first of all, you shut down distractions. Shut down distractions. We will talk about in the next slide, but that's one major key factor. Get your distractions out of the way. Then get your tool set ready, because there is a certain tool set that you need. If you need to secure an event venue, well, you need to have your list of events to call. You need to have a phone or something. You need to have the telephone numbers of people. Maybe you want to organize yourself in a CRM system, whatever. The gist is you have a certain tool set that you need to get ready. So have your tool set ready to have your focus session. And then you do what you want to do, and you do it with focus, and you only do that one thing. I just saw Stefan post, I prefer Pomodoro. Yeah, absolutely. That is going along the same lines of achieving, of performing high. And I do agree with you. That can be something. That's just another method, or it's a label to stick to the same thing. I call it focus session. You call it Pomodoro. You say 25 minutes. I say 45 minutes. Fair enough. Whatever works for you, make it your own. I give you the idea, basically. But thanks for that comment. I do highly appreciate your comments. Then the next slide is the actual sprint, shutting down distractions. Let's focus on what distractions we can shut down. I personally put my phone into emergency only or airplane mode, whatever you want to call it, because I have identified my phone and notifications in general as one of the biggest sources of distractions. I've seen that so many times. I got my tool set ready. I wanted to focus on something, and then that notification flew in, and it was something personal life related on Facebook. And then I sunk, I don't know how many minutes or sometimes even hours into chasing that notification. And I could have gotten it done with more focus. with higher quality if I would have taken the time to actually focus on that and not have chased it in the moment the notification popped up. So I encourage you, take control of your time and focus. Take your phone, swipe up, and put this airplane mode on. I tell you, the amount of focus you gain back into your life is incredible. Because usually, and this is the thing, we live in an age where your attention is the currency of what everything is going on. Like all social media, every television station, they try to get your attention. That's the biggest commodity, if you ask me these days. So take control of your attention and facilitate where you put your attention. Facilitate focusing on where you want to put it, and also be aware of where you do not want to put it. Same goes like for messengers and WhatsApp. I mean, granted, if you use them for work, I can't really tell you to switch those off, but I believe you get the gist of making your time, your focus session free for what you want to achieve. And then you do the actual work. And I highly encourage you to do one thing at a time. And to all my favorite geeks and nerds out there, multi-threading and multitasking processes in your computer, they basically do the same thing that I'm telling you. They are focusing on one thing at a time, and then they go next, and then they go next. Only they do that however many million times per second. But basically, that's what it is. Your hardcore, I don't know how many cores and gigahertz processor in your computer usually only focuses on one thing at a time and slices the time up into focus sessions. Then let me talk about the next slide, power breaks. And I'm also aware of the time here. We have, I believe, 10 minutes left roughly. Your 15 minutes power breaks. For me, there could be any number of things. It can be basic things like drink water, snack on nuts or fruits, open the window, go outside, give yourself some fresh air, respect your body. Because when you work online, especially these days, it can be so easy to get consumed by sitting inside and sitting in front of your screen. Yeah, do yourself a favor, break it up. Open the window, go outside, give yourself that little bit of fresh air. Also, maybe you want to do a power nap. Maybe you want to also meditate. That's something I sometimes do when I feel like it. When I've done my task, sometimes I just go ahead and put on that quick guided meditation, and that they can be from 1 minute guided laughter sessions to a full-on 15-minute deep dive into relaxation, something like that. I mean, you know what you need. Your gut is with you. I can tell you, you know what you need. I highly encourage you, give it to yourself. Give yourself what you need, and allocate that time for you. That will increase your productivity, I guarantee. You can also play a quick game. Back in the day, there was a game that is called Minesweeper or something. Find yourself a game that is like round-based, kind of, where you don't need to be constantly online, where it doesn't matter if you're online or if you achieve much. If you want to distract yourself with a little game, get your mind off of your work with a little game. Find a game like Minesweeper where you can just go through that little session and see if you can navigate the bombs not exploding around you, something like that. Some silly, quick little thing that doesn't mean too much. Also, social time. I usually spend like my 15 minutes power break texting people sometimes when I feel like it. And also sometimes I just meet a person or I just talk to a person. It could be a colleague in your office as well. So I highly exclusively focus on my 45 minutes focus session. And usually nobody talks to me in that time. And when I'm on my break, my 15 minutes break, that's the time where I actually socialize and talk to people. Let me see if I find. Sorry, Charlie, can you do the next slide for me, please? Let's talk about the retrospective. And it's the same thing. The retrospective on a personal level also facilitates the continuous improvement process. You get better. You get better if you sit down and reflect on what actually happened. You learn from failures and successes, and it's action oriented. It's basically the same thing that happens in a team. Only this time the prime directive changes. It's no longer we, it is personally focus. It is the next slide even. It's the prime directive on a personal level. And let me just read that out. Regardless of what I discover, and remember, this can be done in only like 5 minutes to 15 minutes if you sit down at the end of the day and reflect. Before you reflect, regardless of what I discover, I understand and truly believe that I did the best job I could, given what I knew at the time, my skills and abilities, the resources available, and the situation at hand. This is such a booster for your mindset and confidence, let me tell you. You put yourself on a little bit of a pedestal, and it's perfectly fine and perfectly okay to do that. And I give you permission that you give credit to yourself for your skill set, for your abilities, and you give yourself credit that you have done the best job that you could have done. So, what are some questions that you can ask yourself at the end of the day, at the end of the week? Let me start off with, you might know some retrospective models, you might know some questions. There is a thing that's called mad, sad, glad, and it talks about what went horribly wrong, what went mildly wrong, and what could have gone better. If you ask me, kick yourself off with a question: what went well? And that's something that I really want to give that to you. Ask yourself first, what went well? Because there are so many things you can give yourself credit for. There are 1,000 things you do every day that you are doing super well. Give yourself credit for that. The next question is, what could be improved? So you identify, okay, I did a lot of things well, but there are also things that I could do better next time. And then the third question, what action leads to this improvement? So what can I specifically do to achieve the improvement that I just identified that I want to achieve? Everything good so far? Are there any questions you want to ask before I go to the team performance boosts? Because we focused on the personal thing. Now let me see questions. Is it not harder to get back to the task if you interrupt? Okay, let's address it in the Q&A session. Great question. Is there anything else, guys, you want to ask? I encourage you to do so. I'm not seeing anything so far. So, Charlotte, if you could please go to the team performance boosts slide. And actually in the next one already. Mindset shift. I've been talking about yourself a lot. I ask you to trust yourself first. Trust yourself. You're a good person. You're an awesome human being. Now it goes on to the team. For me, one of the big performance boosts in teams is The second you decide to trust your teammates, that is where things take a really positive upturn. It's a decision. You can decide to trust the people around you. And if it's only that you trust in their abilities as a start, if trusting that person as a whole is too much of an investment for you or is too much to ask right now, at least trust in their abilities. That's one big root cause. That's one big root development for your team, I can tell you. And this is also what my work focuses on a lot, like building trust. Let's just let that sit for a moment. The topic of trust. I feel that requires some time to sink in. Trust yourself. You are able, you are capable. Same goes for your teammates. You can trust them. They are here for a reason. Right, let's continue. I talked about doing those daily stand-ups where you have your exchange going. It's a good thing in a very big culture of respect to come prepared, even if it's like only a minute before the stand-up that you sit down and make yourself a list. Okay, this is what I've done. Maybe you go through your ticket system, whatever it is, and you see, actually, these are the things I've done. Okay, cool. What are the next things? Okay, I need to do this, 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 and this. I need input for that. And thus, you already accomplished a big task of preparation. And if you come prepared to your stand-ups, that is giving a lot of time. You are saving a lot of time for your team. And it's a completely different energy. Because if you come prepared, you are like a train that is already moving. And the most energy on getting a train or a rocket off the ground or getting a train out of the station is invested in getting the train to roll, getting the rocket to lift off. That's where the most energy is spent. So if you come prepared to your team stand-up, you come with the engine running and warmed up. So there is no wonder that you'll be quicker and more higher performing. Focus on the goals. Why do I put it there? I like to put things active and present. Focus on the goals. I could put any number of things there because I see so many teams where it's like, oh, but Joanne, she should have done this, but she didn't. And Joe, he slacked off completely. He came in to work 2 hours late. People, that's not productive. Let's throw that out of the window. Yes, it needs to be addressed if Joe comes 2 hours late every day. Don't get me wrong on that. But focus on what you want to achieve. And maybe it's not even the worst thing that Joe comes in 2 hours late, because maybe he comes in well rested. Maybe he comes with his engine running. Maybe he's more productive that way. I don't know. Joe knows. Focus on the goals and not so much on what and how. Like, there is a goal, you want to achieve it. Talk to your teammates. What do you want to achieve? Trust the process and appreciate the journey. I could do a whole session on that alone. For me, it's very important that you want to achieve something, you want to get somewhere, and you wish that you would perform straight out of the gate. But the reality is, first you function as a team, and the performance as a team comes through working together with those people. And the next slide is also the kind of end to what I want to talk about today. It's focus on why you do things and what you want to achieve. And as I said earlier, how you get there is in the hands of your capable team members and yourself as well, of course. I see quite a few teams focusing on, oh, what tools should we use? How should we do it? when they haven't even talked about what they actually want to achieve. So that's one takeaway that you can go over in your slides at the end of this. And let me just go to Q&A with that now. I'm open to questions. The question that I received first is it not harder to get back to the task if you interrupt? 100% the reason why I'm saying do away with any distractions, because yes, it is extremely hard to get back to the task. And here's the thing, because I think your question goes to the gist of if you do your 45 minutes focus session and then you take a break from that and then getting back to that task. I believe that the question is focused on that. I like to compare it to you have your engine running, and also your brain works in marvelous ways that I can't really get into right now, but your brain works in ways that sometimes when you put your focus away from something and distract yourself with something, you come back because you allowed your subconscious to work on something, and your subconscious has a much higher bandwidth of processing than your conscious. And your subconscious is at work while you distract yourself with a little game or with a break or whatever, like with a nap or a drink of water, and you come back to your task. You have your tool set already open. Your tool chain is there. Your brain knows what it has done over the past 45 minutes, and you come back, and granted, yes, it takes maybe half a minute to get back into it, but you come in with your engine already revved up and warmed up. So you're not starting from 0. You are starting from 99 maybe, and then you take it to 120 instead of just 100. I hope that answers your question, and I hope I'm making sense. Getting on to the next question: how do I handle project leaders that micromanage everything? Is there any possibility to convince them to use the Scrum method? Thanks for that question, Nina. That's a very, very, very good question. And it's also like my work focuses on doing that, like introducing those Scrum methodologies. I don't know your team leader, and I don't know what they are driven by. But that's one thing. Identify what your team leader is driven by. And if he's driven by micromanaging, maybe he loves micromanaging, but then then I don't know. I don't want to judge or anything, but if you have a team leader that micromanages everything, there is a reason for it. Either he really likes to micromanage, but then I don't know if he should be a team leader if he's a micromanager, because a micromanager doesn't necessarily always lead the most performing teams. And that's a mindset shift as well. If there is a need to micromanage, then there is the big picture missing. And if you want to get everyone on board, you need to have that big picture. And if somebody is micromanaging you, then maybe that's part of the big trust component. Maybe there is a little trust. Maybe there is a little decision to trust, because they are micromanaging. So if I trust you, I tell you this is what I want you to achieve, and then I let go of it, and I come back to you when you need it and when you ask the question. And also, is there a possibility to convince them to use the Scrum method? This is where I would encourage people to either go to talks like this and see, oh, this is the basics of Scrum, or maybe they have a person in their personal circle or in their personal network that already uses Scrum, and they should, if you ask me, just nudge them towards, hey, can we look at company X, how they get it done so quickly, or whatever, like how they are performing. and then you see, they use the Scrum methodology. So you want to find someone who's leading by that example to incorporate that kind of culture, because Scrum, if you ask me, and the agile methodology is, at the end of the day, a shift in culture. If you're not currently using that, it's a big shift in culture to get there. So I don't know if I'm answering the question. I believe I did. If there's any more, please, Nina, follow up. What are the best practices to build trust? Asked by Stefan. Thank you very much for that. Best practice to build trust. A big thing is trust in yourself first. Just decide to trust in yourself, in your capabilities, and also decide to trust in others, and you'll see a spark, you'll see something moving inside you once you do that. And best practices, there are so best practices to decide to trust. And then I said it before, trusting the person as a whole might be too big of an ask. So trust in their ability, or trust, for instance, when they say, oh, I'm taking on this task, then just, okay, I'm trusting that they will deliver this task. Take it in incremental steps and see, okay, trust them, they will deliver that task. And usually they do. And if they don't, there is a good reason for it. And if they don't, then you can also come to them and just individually ask, hey, you promised you would deliver that task, but you didn't. What happened? Can I help you? Something along those lines. So collaborative culture, kind of. I wish I answered your question. If not, please follow up, Stefan. And then Bastian is asking, how do you handle team members who constantly believe they know it better? That's a good one. How do you handle them? Usually, I ask them to take ownership. So if there's someone who suggests an improvement, then he should be the leader of that improvement. So I don't know, say you're using Google Hangouts, and then there is a person who knows it better and says, we should definitely 100% use Microsoft Teams. Well, they should be the project leader then. They should be the ones who introduce Microsoft Teams. They should own up to that improvement. And if they can't, then you know how serious they were about that improvement in the first place. I hope that answers your question. Right. I believe the Q&A is done.
Yes.
I don't know how much. Yeah. Okay, Charlotte, if you want to take over, otherwise I can do like a quick meditation or something.
Yeah, that sounds great. Do it.
Okay. Let me see if I have computer audio enabled or something. Otherwise, let's just imagine there is soft music playing in the background. All right. Let's just, I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Just sit on the floor, on your chair, on your couch, lie down, whatever you want to do. Whatever feels comfortable to you, you know it. And take another deep breath. And also become aware that the air you're breathing in is colder than the air you're breathing out. I invite you to put your hands on top of your tummy and your heart if you want to. And just while you breathe normally, feel how your hands are falling and rising. And that's just a great way to be in the present moment and bring your mind and your body together. And then in your mind, you go over the day or over this session specifically and become aware of what spoke to you. Become aware of something you want to action on. Become aware of all the things that you understood, that you knew before. But also the things that you didn't know. And maybe there is something that I said or something that someone else said in the comments that really upset you. That's okay. I invite you to address this next, because it's a big development opportunity for yourself. Let me also tell you, it's okay if you are struggling with productivity currently. And I invite you and I give you permission to give yourself credit for all the things you are doing well. And let's take another 3 deep breaths in and out and really feel how the air energizes, how you can receive energy from the air around you, how you can inhale, boost, energy boost, and how you can exhale everything that's holding you back. Inhale energy. Exhale and let go of negativity. Another time. And with that, I invite you to open your eyes and arrive back in this present moment. Thank you so much, you beautiful human beings. This has been an awesome session. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Thank you for asking those questions. And Charlotte, I'm handing it over to you.
Oops. Okay. So I'm coming from the space.
Okay, there seem to be connection issues. Charlotte, maybe you want to write something or post a link or something. I do have a contact sheet at the end of my presentation, so if you want to get in touch, there it is. You saw the profile, and keep your eyes peeled. Pay attention to what's coming next with the Rethink community, and maybe join the meetup community. That's basically it. Thank you guys. It's been amazing.